Welcome back. I'm Miniworks Matt, and today we're going to take a look at Kings of War Champions Grunk Blackclaw.
Grunk Blackclaw. No goblin likes to put themselves in danger. So when Grunk found a damaged dwarf juggernaut, it was like the gobs had answered his prayers. Encased inside thick armor and armed with a miniature mop-up launcher, Grunk is one of the few goblins that's actually happy to get stuck into the fight. If only the other goblins would be so eager. Grunk's Stabbers. Goblins are always happy to follow someone bigger and stronger than they are in battle. So Grunk's mighty suit of armor has attracted a lot of attention. Of course, there's always the possibility that Grunk will be killed in battle, which means one of his followers will inherit the suit. Or in other words, they'll steal it before his body is cold. Grunk's Stabbers are a bunch of desperate hangers-on, just waiting for their opportunity to get their claws on the armor. Grunk's Jabbers. If they survive long enough and don't irritate Grunk, a goblin may get promoted from rabble to a sharpstick. The benefits? Well, their weapons are slightly longer, so there's less chance of them getting stabbed back. And to a goblin, that's definitely seen as an incentive. Grunk's Grinder. A mincer is the perfect war engine for a goblin. It satisfies their bizarre desire to travel as fast as possible, and it's armed with a huge drill that grinds up any enemies foolish enough to get in its way. Grunk sometimes uses his to carry the spare maw pups for his cannon, as it tends to stop them from trying to bite off his armor's peg leg.
If you're familiar with Kings of War Champions, this box here that you're seeing today is probably something you've seen already. It's a good addition to Kings of War Champions, and it put up a really good fight against most other armies. It's got a little bit of shooting. The mincer in it is pretty nasty with its big shield in the front, where if you hit him in the front, it's a 6+ armor save. I really love the goblins. I have a goblin army. I have yet to paint it, so maybe this actually is going to get me to paint that. They do add quite a bit of a difference to the armies that are already out there. There's some that have shooting, some that don't have any at all. It's kind of a mixed bag army, actually, for Kings of War. I'd say probably one of my favorites, just because the champion itself has a shooting attack, and it also has a really cool command ability that goes along with him, which is pretty awesome. That helps out the army as much as possible, doing extra damage to enemy units you come in contact with. Obviously, I've learned in Champions that you're going to have 2 troops units that are not going to be as powerful as your 2 main units that you use. So that could be usually a chariot-sized base with a couple troop-sized bases, or some large infantry bases where you have a big crushing 2 unit. But for the most part, I would say the goblins, out of all of them, next to the Basileans, is probably the most versatile one. It has many bags of tricks in the army that you can use to fulfill your victory conditions of the scenarios. It's one of my favorites, but we're going to go ahead and take a look what's in the box. Pretty typical if you've opened one of these boxes for Champions. Pretty typical. You get your cards with all the stats and their faction orders, which is pretty awesome. I'll show you this one. Endless Horde, which has regeneration 5+. It gains this special rule for the round if you give that to any of them, to where they can regenerate some of the... It's regeneration, but it's regeneration floating around the table. So if one of them takes a lot of damage, you can throw this on them the next round, and as soon as they do an order, they will actually be able to regenerate some of their health. Safety numbers for each other friendly unit within 6 inches. This unit's nerve is increased by 1. Okay. Tactical retreat. So until the end of the next turn, if the enemy unit declares a charge against this unit, it can immediately make a free move straight backwards up to its full movement speed. So it's a retreat. It's a runaway. So that's very cool. You get the faction orders, plus you get their stats cards. With on the back, you get their little storyline that each one has, and of course all their special rules and things like that. So you get an assembly guide, which is great. especially if you don't have one for your goblins armies. They break it down in this box here, which is fantastic. I love that about it. They give you some instructions. This is the chariot bag. Now this chariot bag has 2 maw beasts in it, and it can be made into the mincer, which is shown here, or into a regular chariot. This here will be obviously made into the mincer. You get 2 sprues of goblins, 4 sprues of goblins, which they can be made into spears, hand weapon shields, and they come with some maul pups that are sitting on the sprues as well that you can actually put on the base of the hero if you want. Of course, their associated bases, the chariot base and the 2 troops bases, which is great, which is one big base to use to make a diorama with, basically, instead of individual bases, which they used to do. And the creme de la creme, the boss, the champion, the maw pup shooter goblin. So this is pretty awesome. Now, I did put this together. There are several pieces. You got a leg, you got the arm and the hand are separate. This whole arm is separate. You got this little tube here that's separate from the back patch, which is separate from the body itself. So the body is this main body. You got a leg here, and it fits into the base in a notch. Really nice and easy. Very nice resin as usual. This Mastercraft resin is amazing. I love it. But just all in all, just a great looking Champions model on a big 40 mil base. So anyway, that's it. That is Blackclaw, and that's all I've got. Ta-ta!